Once a year, I'm unfaithful to my husband. Content warning, not safe for work. I met Jeff at a bar. He was the second guy to hit on me that night, but the first one was married. The creep slipped off his wedding ring right before he approached me, and I needed to be discreet. Jeff lived alone and was super nervous, which made him the perfect candidate. We had a few drinks, and then he invited me back to his place. Finally, I thought, stomach rumbling. Passing the counter, the guy I shot down gave us this look, like he couldn't believe it. His wounded expression screamed, "You picked that loser over me?" In the cramped cab, the smell of Jeff's sweat was so thick I had to roll open all the windows. I followed him into a two-story house on the outskirts of town, where, as I freshened up in the bathroom, my phone pulsed in my handbag. Sorry, sweetie, I thought, but I'm a little too busy at the moment. Jeff and I sat down on the couch, then I said, "Take off your shirt." He fumbled around, struggling with the buttons. Poor lamb. Growing impatient, I ripped it open and then pulled off his belt. He grabbed my shoulders, hands shaking badly, and said, shouldn't we go into the bedroom? I bit my bottom lip, irritated. Sure. He hopped around on one foot, attempting to wrestle off his socks, until I decided I'd finally seen enough and pushed him onto the bed. I stepped off my heels, gently placed a finger against his lips, and said, "Lie back, be quiet, and close your eyes." Shh. As I traced a circle across Jeff's exposed chest and kissed along his neck, he said, "No, wait," and tried to sit up. To hell with this, I thought. I'd be there all night the way things are going. I pinned him down, easily. Panic crossed Jeff's face. It was short-lived. Pressing my lips close to his ear, I whispered, "Sleep." His eyes turned the colour of egg whites as his body went completely limp. At long last. My fangs descended, and then my jaw snapped shut around his neck. It would only take me a few minutes to feed, then I'd patch him up and be on my way. Jeff would wake up in the morning with the mother of all hangovers, wondering whether he'd gotten lucky. His juicy blood hit my tongue in waves, warmer than bath water. It tasted much better than I expected. As I fed, my eyes wandered around the room. The place was nicely decorated, oak finish, tasteful furniture, pleasing feng shui. Awkward guys like Jeff usually had anime figures and not much else. What the hell was he so nervous for anyway? He wasn't exactly bad looking. And going by the flavour, he wasn't a virgin like I thought. It made no... The moment I glimpsed what was behind the curtains, I quickly stood and backed away. Silver bars running lengthwise. I fumbled for my handbag and heels, blood still trickling from my mouth. There was a noise from the direction of the hall, and then a powerful light bulb in the middle of the ceiling flicked on, stinging my eyes. Smoke started out of my hands as they went up by reflex. In through the door came 3 men armed with wooden stakes and flashlights, rings of garlic swing from their necks. The one at the back closed and locked the door. No wonder Jeff was so nervous. He was the bait. Disorientated with hunger and fear, I stood frozen, pulse between my temples. The front man motioned with his hand, and the other 2 separated, surrounding me. If I didn't act fast, the hunters were going to turn my heart into a pincushion. I launched myself towards the ceiling and punched out the bulb. Then, hanging upside down, I crawled towards the window. 3 beams of light scanned the room, but I was too nimble for my pursuers to pin me down for long. The bars across the glass were definitely pure silver. My palms sizzled when I tried to rip them out of the frame. These guys were pros. I made a painful yelp, then one of them shouted, "Over by the window!" A half second less before they could flash their torch beams. I slithered across the wall towards the bed. "Where the F is she?" one of them screamed, unable to hide the panic in his voice. The guy in front, their leader, judging by the way he spoke, said, "Fan out and find her." The nervous man leaned close to Jeff, who was snoring loudly, and tried to shake him awake. I landed on the floor without making a sound, scooped up my handbag, and then took the nervous man from behind. Before he could react, I seized his wrist. The garlic tasted like sun-baked mayonnaise studded with peas and diarrhea. My guts clenched. The nervous man screamed for help. I hissed as the other 2 looked around, using my prisoner's body as a shield. I sunk my nails deep into his forearm with all the effort it would take to mould wet clay, then a fat spurt of blood hit the hardwood floor. He began convulsing. "I've cut your friend's radial artery," I said, presenting his open wrist like a trophy. He can still make it if you get him some medical attention, but you have to let me go first. Turn off your lights." There was a moment of painful silence as my tormentors exchanged a glance. Their friend blacked out, forcing me to prop him up. "Now," I said seriously. They reluctantly obliged. "Drop your stakes, unlock the door." As the third man undid the lock, I said to the leader, "Are there any more traps outside?" He shook his head. "Don't follow me." I backed out of the room, out of the house, perfectly good blood spraying with every step. Step, spray, step, spray. Just in case the leader lied, I kept hold of the unconscious man until I was well clear of the house. Then I tossed him aside and escaped into the darkness. I stopped in a dark alley a half-mile away, then keeled over and vomited blood. The lingering stench of garlic had badly upset my stomach. There was no need for such hostilities, difficult as it was. I made a point of never finishing my meals. Worst case scenario, I'd get a little greedy, then one of my victims would feel like they had the flu for a couple days. I had made it out safely, but now I had two problems. First, the small portion of Jeff I'd had barely counted as an appetizer, and the last few weeks had already been a real struggle. The hungrier I got, the tastier my husband looked, but it was difficult to find a decent meal when he was close by. Second, the hunters carefully planned the whole thing out. That meant they probably knew my identity. I licked the blood I'd vomited up off the filthy ground, savouring every drop. A message came through from my husband. I straightened up and read it. "Presentation went great, honey. Me and Richard took the clients out for dinner. Now we're back at the hotel. Tried to reach you but couldn't get through. I'll call first thing tomorrow. Love you." I spat out a discarded band-aid, still absolutely famished, as a wave of wooziness hit me. This was bad.